go wherever you go.
Yes, yes. The boys, what we saying? Today's video, we've got a leg session on the training program which Aaron has given me. Now, this one is intended, shaky. This session is intended to help fix another of my injuries which I've got. In fact, two of them which are hip and back related, which obviously I know a lot of you, it's pretty common to have a hip or a back injury. As a lot of you probably know, I used to play football at a pretty high level. Played for Stoke, played for Liverpool from the age of 9 until, I wish that would stop shaking. Fucking hell. Let me sort this first. There we go, sorted. So from the age of 9 until 15, for the majority of my childhood, I played football at I suppose you could say playing for Liverpool and Stoke is a pretty high level. There was 1 month when I was around, what age was I? I think I was about 14. It was about a year before I got released. I kept pulling my hamstring over and over again. It was the same side, left side, and they sent me for scans. The scans turned out to show in my back I had a spondylolisthesis and a bilateral pars fracture. If I'm correct in this, obviously I'm not a fucking physio here, but it's where the vertebrae in your spine slip forward slightly. Now there's different grades. There's grade 1 to grade 5, grade 5 being like pretty fucking bad. I can't remember which grade mine was. I went to this specialist in Wales and he had spoken to Steven Gerrard before and actually told me that Steven Gerrard had exactly the same injury as what I got, and as a result went through 1 season in his entire career where he didn't pull his hamstring, which is a cool fact to know. And then the bilateral pars fracture is basically the 2 little bits that stick out either side of your spine. Basically, he told me that both of those had snapped. He reckons it was when I was a child, like literally when I was like 3, 4, 5, they snapped, and he said they just healed as they were in place. There was 2 things they could either do. Either leave it and just strengthen my core, or what they could do is fuse them back together, but my range of motion, my mobility would be very limited. So obviously we left it and the physios helped me to strengthen my core, and I don't really get back issues anymore at all. I used to get pain standing up for long periods of time, especially in the cold. So like when we'd have like a little huddle where obviously the coach was going through the drills and stuff like that, talking to you, my back used to fucking kill standing there, especially during winter. And then the other injury which I've got is basically I had scans on my hip because I had pain in my hip flexor just before lockdown, so 2019 I'm pretty sure it was, and they found on the scans that I had, let me just remember the name of it. What was the name of it? That's it. Benign osteochondrosis, which is basically just a non-cancerous tumour on my hip, which is nice. You know, you always want a tumour on your hip, to be fair. As a result of that, I get like pinching in my hip. Also, my left hip, which is the one it's in, rises a lot during my leg exercises. So my hack squats, on my leg extension, seated leg curl, lying leg curl, and my left quad is also weaker and a little bit smaller. Like, you might not actually notice it, but I notice it. So when I'm squatting, leg extensions, anything like that, my right leg always seems to take over. So he has put together a program, Aaron, this is the physio, which will help to fix this. So I'm going to go through that today. So if you have any hip or back issues, he reckons that strengthening my transverse abdominis, transverse, I'm pretty sure it's called something like that. So basically the muscle which performs vacuums in like a bodybuilding pose where you suck all the air in. It's the muscle that's responsible for that. Now what I've noticed when I do vacuums is that my left side, I can't pull it up and in anywhere near as much as my right side. Also, you might have noticed, the right side of my abs is way more developed than the left side of my abs. That's simply just because I can connect a lot better with the right side of my abs. The left side, obviously they contract, but I can't connect with them and contract them as much as I can as my, the caffeine's hitting me, can you tell? As my right, so hopefully by the end of the 12 weeks, my shoulder's fixed, my hip's fixed, obviously my back, there's fucking nothing you can do about that, mate, it's just broken. Basically, I'm a fucking broken man, and Aaron's gonna fix me, so let's go to the gym and I'll show you the leg session. We've got the fucking music popping in here today. It's usually like a pure gym in here. Starting with 2 sets, 4 to 6 reps on a cat camel, which I'm guessing is just basically warming up my spine, thoracic spine, and also just training my transverse abdominis a little bit, just to be able to control obviously pelvis, rib cage position. So it's nothing intense, but it's just to help warm up. We've got 3 session prep exercises similar to my upper body sessions, and then we've got obviously the main work. We've got this cat camel, then we've got a quad setting exercise, and then we've got a banded RDL, which I'll show you. It's quite difficult to get into actually. So with that quad setting exercise, we're using a green band, so a thick one, and I'm basically just gradually increasing the distance that I'm stood from, obviously, the band to make it hard for myself during each set. We've got 2 sets, 6 to 8 reps. The tempo is very important on this one, so you need to be making sure that you're holding in that contracted position when you're obviously contracting your quad. I can tell the difference between my left and my right side. Obviously, my right side is the side that takes over, so it's stronger, whereas the left side, it's just harder to keep my knee locked and fixed in that position. So obviously, I'm really focusing on that tempo and controlling all parts of the movement. So now moving into the main portion of the workout, we've got a banded RDL, so that band just goes around my waist and it just again encourages you to send your hips back first, because that's the mistake that a lot of people make in a hinge, in an RDL, a stiff leg deadlift. Stiff leg deadlift's a bit different to be fair, but an RDL, a deadlift, anything like that, people don't send the hips back, they just put all that weight through the lower back. I'm staying clear of failure, 5 or 6 reps in reserve, not going heavy. The main thing with this is just to ingrain that skill into my brain, so that when I do then go up to heavier weight, it's just second nature and I don't even have to think about it. Second exercise, we're on to the booty builder. We've got the glute drive in there. Meant to be a glute drive as in like the Nautilus glute drive, but we haven't got one here. We've got the booty builder, so I'm just gonna have to make do with that. To be fair, it's not that bad. The only problem is my glutes are pretty strong. Like, I'm pretty sure I worked up to 5 plates a side on the glute drive, but I'm gonna have to go pretty light on this. So the key with the glute drive is it's the same as an RDL, it's the same as any hip hinge. All you're doing is pushing those hips back and driving them through. Now the hardest thing is not extending through the lower back and keeping that rib cage tucked and your chin down. That's the toughest thing for a lot of people. So like I said, it's the same movements, just loaded in a different way. So with the RDL, it's going to be loading the lengthened position. So in that stretch position, you're going to be loading the most. And then at the top, no tension. The only tension that I was receiving then was from the band, whereas usually with just the bar, you get no tension in that position. With the hip thrust, it's loaded mainly in that shortened position. So there's hardly any load. There is a little bit at the bottom in that lengthened position, but then at the top, when your glutes and hamstrings are, well, your hamstrings won't be, but your glutes will be fully contracted. That's where they're going to be challenged. Now moving on to this seated hamstring curl, so more fixed position here. Also focusing on is knee flexion. So this is one that I struggle with to keep my hip down. So hopefully, you know, that quad setting exercise and teaching myself how to keep those hips, that pelvis stable whilst doing those other exercises will carry over into this one.
Let's live it up. We only get one life. We only get one life like this.
Leg extension pretty standard. A lot of people get this wrong in the fact that they put their shins and knees wider than their hips. So the same as you would with a bicep curl, with a hamstring curl, with everything. So any curl, if you're using a hinge joint, elbow, knee, both hinge joints, you want to line everything up for the least joint stress and actually so you can target the muscles which you're trying to target. So what people do is they put the knees quite wide, the shins go quite wide, and then when they extend, your hips are here, but everything's going this way. So you want to line everything up and make sure hip, knee, ankle, all in a straight line.
We only get one life like this.
Not a bad session that. The phrase 1 step backward, 2 steps forward comes to mind, because if it means that I have to take a step backwards now for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then when we go into prep, you know, I'm completely injury free, then it's good news to me. Hopefully we start to ramp up the intensity in the next couple of weeks. I say that, I'm like 5 days into this fucking program, but I just love training hard and I miss it, to be honest, and it's only been a couple of days. Like, there's nothing better than getting on that hat squat, slapping 5 plates on there and just going all out. But hopefully, with me fixing my hip, obviously strengthening my transverse and all my core muscles, it means that when I go back to the hack, obviously initially I'll be weaker, but long term I can run it up. AJ Morris has got 7 plates on there, so that's my goal, man. 7 plates, and he's got very good quads, and he is shorter than me too, a lot shorter than me. So if I could get 7 plates on there, that would be good. I reckon we've got that in me. Next off season, 100%, we'll fucking run that up. If you did like the video, boys, please drop a like, click subscribe if you are new around here. There's plenty more videos coming to this series. I'm going to take you along with me, and then when we start prepping 12 weeks, you'll see that unfold in front of your eyes. So yes, I'll see you in the next video, boys.